CTM. What's going on, everyone? Hope you're well and doing great. How important is that honeymoon in the morning as we get settled here to go ahead and build that focus that is needed? How important is the brainwave music that we start off with? You know why? That's to remind us here that we're here to put the work in, that what we're doing here, there's nothing easy about it. And in order to be successful, takes an enormous amount of effort, discipline, and work. Know thyself, how important it is. Aldo, you've been around for many of a great session. And today's a long time coming. Today's a really important time. And today's session is really, really, really going to touch everyone, regardless of how long you've been with CTM or the level that you are executing at. It will be something you notice, or I've noticed, and I started it off earlier in the week, and I was like, okay, it's time to focus. It's time to focus. We have been able to kind of pretty well in that exit in March say, you know what, like there's a chance that we're going to be going sideways for a while. And that's what's happened. And for the first couple of weeks or few weeks, that was easy enough. But you know, some time has passed. We got caught up in a good way. We got caught up building, which is paramount for what we want to continue to do. And then you could sense that I got a little concerned. I was like, are we losing focus for what is the most important? And that is that mental aspect of what we do here. Now I'm going to say it again. And I genuinely mean it. You have to first of all start from the understanding that trading and investing is enormously difficult. And the most difficult part for most people is developing an edge in the market. CTM collective collaboration, like no other, has put together a strategy with an enormous edge. Once that's in place, most people will never, ever, ever, ever get to a strategy that is able to perform consistently. Once that's in place, that's when everything begins, because then it all becomes about the psychological nature, which is so important. It's ridiculous. This morning in the psychology channel, Flav vs. Frav put out something that really sets the tone of today's session. And he said, hard times make strong men. By the way, pay attention to that video up the top. It says build inner strength. And it's Mr. Pizza to you was saying that, look, David Goggins helped me get my stuff together this year after a really tough 2 to 3 years due to family and mental health issues. I'm almost back to 90%, which is amazing. That's a lot of self-work. That's like you have to spend time continually working on yourself. Pay attention to this video. It's gonna come up again. All right. Now I'm gonna go through something here that to many people, this next section over here, as I go through Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano and Solana, I get it. You all know, and then I'll be able to move towards this section over here directly after. It's gonna pay dividends for everyone here. So regardless if you already understand, the majority of CTM for sure, is already on board. It doesn't mean that it's not important for it to be drilled in. Ace has been saying over this past week or so, he's like, listen, we haven't even really begun running sideways, right? And he pointed to in 2018, a period of time, let's say 160 days, where we were running sideways before a new all-time high. And you can see over here, like we're just a few weeks in. So I felt like that, we got to return to just this rock solid focus and discipline, because why our strategy is keeping us out of the market, that gave us, which is priceless, by the way, that gave us the ability to go in and really begin a lot of work there's nothing easy about it that needs to get done. That's so important for our continued growth. Now, I also, during this period, and I don't want you to forget, you may be forgetting, and I don't want you to forget those that have been here for a while, and everyone. Now, you don't know what comes next. I certainly don't know what comes next, and you don't know what comes next. And I've been talking about and just pointing out that, you know what? I personally feel that we're here in cycle. Willie Woo is talking about how the exponential phase of the Bitcoin bull run hasn't even begun yet. And that's true. The bull of all bulls not running. And mind you, regardless of what anyone else says, that's not going to happen until monetary policy aligns. Right now, the Fed is still tightening. Now they're getting ready towards what will be the next phase of the Fed cycle, and that is when rate cuts begin. Rate cuts likely, they don't have to lead to then like a resurgence. And back in the 70s, they went from hikes to cuts to hikes to cuts. And, but the next phase is likely, as Powell said in his last press conference, that it's a very high bar for a hike to come in, and likely it's going to be a rate cut. Since then, he also noted that, look, the only thing that could make a cut happen sooner would be a deterioration of the jobs market. And why that hasn't happened yet, since then, just last week, we have seen a really big miss on non-farm payrolls. And then today, unemployment claims rising. So we are seeing those signs and or cracks, but that's neither here nor there. I personally believe that we are in this area as far as the Fed cycle goes. Now, this was a crisis, this big deviation down. That was the whole world went on lockdown. And you could see that led to that. If that didn't happen, I don't think that I think that this would have been a lot smoother. And this cycle is probably a good idea to look at it. Maybe something like this, right? And it's a lot smoother. But you know, anyway, let's keep going. And I've just been pointing out, like, listen, I know because of the technicals suggest that we might be in a launch phase over here. So we need to continue to watch that. We all know that we've broken out outside of the outermost trend line resistance. And we have to watch what takes place. But just because, and you all seen it before in the previous cycle, just because you're at a certain point with certain expectations, wave one into wave two. By the way, in the summer of 2021, Bitcoin trading at 30,000, there was a lot of uncertainty and people did not know what to expect. Our expectations were by October, Bitcoin would make a new all-time high and do it in two waves. It did it. Then we were looking for a pullback into liftoff and a parabolic move up. That didn't happen. Just because everything was aligned for it to happen doesn't mean that it's invalidations are just as important. And that's what we're watching now for where we are in cycle. We're at a point where we could see another like massive leg up or two, who knows, or whatever. I don't know how many we could see, but we could see a massive leg up. Bitcoin 80,000, Bitcoin 120,000, or we could see a failure. Right? So we want to be ready for everything. I've been talking about, though, and just to prepare you all mentally, that, well, because of where we are in Fed cycle, it may not be so easy. And pointing out June 19, the June 2019 peak is a similar place in the Fed cycle right now before the first cut, right? And then you saw Murad adding adding then the day after, right? The peak rate cuts before cuts and showing the cuts coming in. We're over here before the cuts. As the cuts come in, do we see some similar type of price action? The balance sheet QT was running. Right now, balance sheet QT is running. It's a very similar place, including, which I had no awareness of, the inverted yield curve, right? So there's a lot of caution to be had. Now, I don't know if you saw this yet yesterday. TED Talks Macro was pointing about cross-border cap, which Luke pointed out that he back in early 2023 called what he felt was the turn in liquidity, right? And Ted is lining up this. You can see this line over here. And by the way, where it peaked was in April 2021. Obviously, equity markets and crypto made new all-time highs into November. I mean, just throwing it out there. But that's not the point. The point is, right? And then it's pointing over here. He's saying the U.S. economy is bottoming. Has bottomed, not peaked. Gear up. And then, I've talked about, well, out of the last 6 elections, 3 of those, 2000, 2008, 2020, we saw really big market crashes. Just because it's an election year, don't take anything for granted. And then TXMC is showing, even with those liquidity cycles, that in those up liquidity, I don't want you to get comfortable. In that up liquidity, you saw market crashes, recessions. I'm sorry, not crashes, recessions. This was a severe recession. This was a very short recession. Nevertheless, point being, just because people start to talk about liquidity is rising and whatnot, and I've often talked about, well, during that last period, I don't know why stocks here were having a massive run up and Bitcoin was under pressure. Just be careful out there. And the reason I'm bringing all of this up as a reminder right now is for the very important reason that I don't know what comes next, in so much as that we might or may have some tough times ahead. when I say tough times, what I mean is that, like, well, let's say that the job market continues to deteriorate and we begin to see rate cuts come in. By the way, I think it's just also important to talk about, like, uh leading indicators from manufacturing turning down. Now we did see Atlanta Fed forecast for GDP at a very hot, like 4.1, 4.2%. I don't see any signs of like stagflation or anything like that. There does seem to be a lot of signs for growth, and all I could say about looking for any types of slowdown, and I am not trying to time and or call a recession. By the way, usually that countdown gets close as the curve uninverts, but the cracks continue and continue to get bigger. And you saw one again today as you saw unemployment claims rising higher than expected. It is the highest initial jobless claims in 9 months, and we all know that regardless of what the data tells us, that we continue to see massive layoffs across the board, and we have to wonder what the economy really looks like. You all know that I struggle with, when they do cut, are they cutting into normalization or are they cutting into weakness? And it's very hard with any type of certainty to have a very clear picture of that, which is why really we're going on 4 or 5 months now. We're into May, where I've just been like pretty uncertain when it comes to the macro. I'm like, we'll just continue giving it time and pick our spot over here. None of that has changed whatsoever. But the point of all this is, by the way, let me just like get a second wind over here. Nasdaq trading up today. You can see that we are in an inside bar after the breakdown thus far. In an inside bar, we are trying to break that outermost trend line resistance. And if I come in just a little bit lower, you could see that we've been fighting with the resistance. We have not closed above the darker line on the daily time frame, and we have 1, 2, 3 times really back tested that last bit of what was resistance. It appears to be holding as support right now. I mean, for sure, on the initialist jobless claims, Bitcoin is responding favorably, and so are gold and silver. We're seeing the dollar down, and the dollar over here, you had the sell impulse, came in back for a retest of that trend line. It looks like it potentially is rolling over. We do have CPI data next week. I've heard whispers a week or two ago that it's going to come in below expectation. So that could be a wild card, I guess, if we finally begin to see this since the summer, just these higher upticks, the loss of momentum of the deflationary pressures. Yellen has said, first she said last week to Japan, like, hey, you should not intervene without me in the markets. And then, like, days later, she's like, okay, we're going to intervene with you. The U.S. has opened up a swap line with Japan for dollars. I don't know what that intervention is going to look like, if and when it happens. Likely and obviously, the U.S. does not want Japan unloading U.S. treasuries in order to go ahead and defend the yen. So I guess we'll see if there's any type of movement, and that reflects in the U.S. dollar. So today, and there's more. This is oil over here, and the reason I bring up oil is so follow the technicals though. If we get a breakout over here, right? Well, I expect further upside. That could carry if we did see a benign CPI reading. And I think at this point in time, you could see, or I could see, these two touches into this area. So that one deserves to be, that would be where a breakdown is likely. We want to see that hold. So you can see that was on the way up. Do y'all remember we had these downward sloping resistance lines? And we talked about we have 3, 1, 2, 3. And now if we roll down, it would be the other way. And that was the swing high over there. So you could see why that line is now bolded and how it's been respected. So below that, and I don't want to do that right now. I'm just trying to, over here is where the other resistance would be. I don't say I don't want to do it now, but I'm doing it. So, all right. Now, with that being said, what I'm trying to prepare you for is for when things get tough. Right now, things are not tough, right? By the way, this stems from we're gonna get one more thing out of the way, and then I'll get into the meat here. All right. So, by the way, as far as Bitcoin's concerned and the flows, we saw 11 million into the U.S. spot ETFs yesterday, and another 4 million. So no flows whatsoever. Willy Woo included this pretty cool chart, which is showing Bitcoin network flows. And what's cool about it is the light blue over here are the spot ETFs from the US. So we've been wondering how much of an effect these have on the market. And it's very cool to see the flows in relation. So you could see in the very beginning, they were accounting for 70% of the flow, average flows on the day. And then as we got into this like really strong behavior, they were only like, I would say 20% or a quarter of the overall flows, right? And nevertheless, 20% on a daily basis of funds flowing into Bitcoin is, I think it's rather big. It's a big player in my own personal belief. We need to continue watching them. By the way, this is European regulator consider allowing Bitcoin exposure to be added to UCITS. What is that? I mean, if you're European, obviously you know. I was not aware of what that is. Wanted to make sure I do. And it's collective investment. They're undertakings for the collective investment in transferable securities and investment funds regulated at the EU level. They account for 75% of all collective investments by small investors in Europe, and evidently 2 times bigger than USTFs. That's enormous. So that sign, and then here's another sign. Many in the US are very familiar with insurance giant Mass Mutual, and they are reporting on their 13F filing that they are taking exposure to Bitcoin ETFs. That's a major, 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 major player entering into the market, and a sign that not only like at first gradually, then suddenly. By the way, I don't think that this type of player is someone that's going to be like selling like and buying, and this is someone in it for the long term, and that's what we're looking to see. So, jumping back, John, the momentum based system is fantastic. When that momentum is there, we're there to capture it. Now, many of you in CTM, by the way, and when I say many of you, there is CTM core, those that have been with CTM from 2020, 2021, and on. And these people have their CTM to the core. And there's also obviously CTM in 2023, in December 2022, January 2023, we opened up CTM once again. And the people that started, and a lot of people started December, January, those people have been through what was one of arguably the toughest years to trade through, and that was 2023. Now, the end of 2023 became sweet once you see from where I'm marking, once you see the spot ETFs all of a sudden lining up to be approved. And from there on in, we got ourselves into a nice, what I've called position of power. It didn't have to happen like that. We got lucky, and especially if what we are to see is some difficult period ensue. And a difficult period is not for 3 weeks having 3 trades, or 5 weeks having 3 trades. A difficult period is like 2000, and many of you traded through this. It's so hard to trade through with this low volatility. Extremely difficult. The hardest regime that a momentum based system could have. So many of you who did it, you are battle tested and you are mentally tough. But as I'm going to show you in a minute, when I get to the material over here, that doesn't mean that you won't be tested again, and you will be tested again, which is why this refresher is so timely. So buckle up and let's begin. And this all stems from, you know, yesterday, or this morning, I'm not sure. Yeah, I've been in CTM for 3 months now, and I haven't had a single winning trade. What's going on? So that's what this is. I don't know if I should leave this at the bottom here as a reminder, probably. And I think that will be good. And so let's look at that, right? Let's look at Bitcoin, BTC 107, and you start in March, 3 months ago. And you can say, well, I've taken 5 trades. Out of those 5 trades, 40% of them have been profitable, right? And so in all fairness, though, not all fairness, I'm just like the person that is writing, and rightfully so, wants some insight, which I'm going to provide in to the highest degree here, to get everyone right, because we want everyone. They started on the 8th, so they don't have this trade over here, right? Because they started on the 8th. They just joined on the 8th, so they don't have that trade over here. I'm using 2000. I'm using the 1st to make it easier as we go back further here. But so you could say, well, they've taken 3 trades on Bitcoin, and they're down 4% or 3.5% or what have you. All right, just a little context. But let's move that out further to the beginning of the year. Let's go out 3 months before that, right? And all right, so that's pretty good. And notice the percent profitable. It's right on track, right? So 20%. And let's go out to that year. It was so hard anyway, 2023, and add another year now. So now you're looking at 18 months, and that's a solid return. Actually, that type of return outperforms every single money manager out there. 12% drawdown. Add in 2022, the bear market of 2022. Okay, that's pretty great for a bear market, I think. And then we all know what happens in the bull market of 2020 and 2021, and then you start seeing some magic, but that takes time. That's not 3 months of time. That's 4 years we're showing. I have to show you 4 years. I'll show you. Go back and you could look at 2.5 years. That's insane. 1.5 year. That's insane. 6 months. That's a strong return. And yes, for the last 3 months, you're fighting. You're fighting because we just went through a period of running up, right? And you could see that we ran up. And by the way, and you probably weren't here, but on this particular day here, you were here then, March 13th, I said, okay, everyone, be prepared. We might now move towards a phase of running sideways. And I'm not trying to predict the future, or it's just my intuition, right? I've been here for quite a long time. And that's what's happened since. So this is the phase, and this phase may be just beginning. Nobody knows. And, this little, what do we got? From March to April, May, 2 months. Are you prepared for another 3 months if need be? Are you prepared for another 9 months? You got to be, right? And I just want to show you one more time. And I know you've all seen this so many times, but it's just a reminder. Like, if you zoom out and you look from that 2020 we were just looking at, if you zoom out, it looks like you're just going up and to the right. But you're zoomed out. When you zoom in, it's not like that at all. You are running sideways. Running sideways means you're in drawdown, not making new all-time account highs. and you're doing it for the majority of the time. Don't forget, there are so few people who are able to methodically profit from the markets. The type of returns that you just looked at are on par with the best of the best of. They're better. Now, we're not talking about amount of money being traded. It's a lot different when someone's managing billions of dollars and whatever have you. But that's not the point. Now, also here on Ethereum, like, and remember this area over here, this red box. This was, and I know that those that were here, you remember the coaching that took place? Absolutely priceless. Helping everyone get through with the awareness needed this really difficult regime that we were in, right? I don't think we're there yet. This is nothing so far, but at the same time, I felt like, and you heard me say earlier in the week, okay, now is the time to be focused, and it's a good boost of that inner strength, refreshingness. I think at this time is really appropriate. And if you look and you do something similar over here and you go, okay, well, I started on March and I'm down like 17%, 18%. What's going on? Right? That's exactly it's right at the bottom right. What's going on? Right? And then for a little perspective, you go back and you add the rest of the year. So you're adding another 3 months and, oh, okay, that's a really good return, actually. You add all of 2023, which is incredibly difficult. And for Ethereum, that's lacking, but it's a good return. It's a really good return. Ethereum cleaned up during the bear market of 2022. So you're going to start seeing those returns really magnified. And Ethereum will wake up again. And by the way, now it's obvious to everyone. But I was saying that over here. Right here, I was saying that. I'll show you that in a minute. Right here, I was saying that. And you just go back to, add 2 more years of a bull market. And the bull of all bulls is not running right now. It's insane. But you don't get to be insane if you put in those 4 years of that relentless discipline and executing and grinding. Are you prepared to grind? And if you're not, maybe go ahead and watch Build Inner Strength. There's a reason over here, right? And it may not hit with you. I watched the video because it was posted by everyone on the team, and I was taking a flight and I watched it and I listened to the whole thing. It didn't resonate with me, but that doesn't matter, right? Maybe you want to go watch The Last Dance, Michael Jordan, the Bulls, to see the type of focus it takes Michael Jordan to perform on the level that he performs at and how he gets himself, whatever it takes. But that's the thing, is like the ones that make it, their attitude is whatever it takes. Yes, the hardest thing is developing a strategy with an edge. Okay, but once you do that, then the hardest thing becomes the psychology and executing and yourself. And all of a sudden, in comparison, having and developing that edge, which very few people in the whole capital markets be able to do, is all of a sudden nothing compared to that. So get to work, whatever it takes. That needs to be your attitude. You're willing to do whatever it takes. And 3 months, which is nothing, and 3 months on Ethereum is just common that you're running sideways. This is, 3 months running sideways. This is 2.5 months. This is 3 months. This is many more than 6 months. Are you prepared for a 3-month period? You have to be. And I'm trying to get you prepared right now. Same thing over here with Cardano. Cardano is very similar, right? And I get it. The last 3 months and the timing that you join is actually fantastic. Now, some people have better timing. What do I mean by that? Well, Auto Trader, for example, he joined us and his first trade he took was on Bitcoin on the daily. And he nagged a 50% winner. Okay, that was great. He joined at the right time, but he's the one who was able to have the dedication and focus to execute regardless of the outcome, right? And maybe someone else has a harder time taking one trade and getting a 1.7% stop loss, and then since April not doing anything. You've seen the meme of the stick with the Bitcoin logo, and it's like it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. I need to do something. Let me go ahead and take a risk. Oh, I just set myself back. And he got lucky though. He didn't get lucky. I'm sorry. He executed. But the timing might seem a little bit more favorable. Maybe, again, all of those people who joined in January 2023, they went through one of the most grueling periods ever in the history of Bitcoin, of lowest volatility. They became really strengthened because of it. Hard times make strong men. Now go back on Cardano and you can say that's tough. That's just like Ethereum. Okay, but that is 3 months. And if you go back and you look a little bit further, you can say, oh, well, that's 6 months, 3%. That's tough. What about the tough year? 2023 is a really tough year. All right, 18 months, 100% return. I'm outperforming. All right, 2022, the bear market. It's a bear market, so it crushed it. Outperforming on a 2.5-year basis, outperforming Ethereum there. And then the bull market is bull market things, of course, and you're not going to be around for the bull market unless you're able to have the fortitude to withstand these hard periods. Solana too. Solana's not doing anything, right? Solana from 2024 March, 14%. All right, but whatever. Bitcoin's up or break even, and Cardano's down, and Ethereum's down. So it doesn't even add up, right? True. So 6 months, and you could say that, all right, it's the same thing. It's not even doing anything, right? And then add in 2023, and wow, you have to have the fortitude to think long term and not short term. 3 months is truly nothing. And yeah, guess what? You all, if you're here, you've gotten through the most difficult hurdle. You surrounded yourself with an enormously successful team, and you have access to a extraordinarily detailed plan that has an extraordinary edge. Well, now it's up to you, and everyone here is for each other, which is why today's session, making sure. Yeah. And I'm building into the next portion of the session. So before I do that, let me go ahead and go back and look at what that looks like on the buy side for 3 months. And like the main takeaway here is 3 months is really not a long time. And notice today, I'm not talking about anything that we're building, because like we are building. And right now we're working on CTM bull runs. And by the way, I was so excited and so happy. Ace put out in the community chat core, he put out taking a look at CTM Bitcoin bull runs on the 8-hour. And he just made some adjustments. And those adjustments are nice because this is what we're currently looking at, right? Don't forget, you got a massive open position, which compounds beautifully. But this 20% drawdown, 2 million % return, capturing those bull runs. And Ace was able to go ahead and play around a little and reducing the drawdown, increasing the return. And that made me so happy to see that collective collaboration, because why I believe the iterations that I'm putting out are an enormous advantage. I'm looking forward to see what, as over time, what the community could do as a whole to go ahead and expand on that. So I was really excited about that. So what I meant to say, though, is that, well, I'm talking about the strategy that we have in place today. CTM 2.0 X beast of a beast. It's a momentum strategy. unlike anyone else out there utilizes, and it's an absolute, like, it's amazing. But we're looking to build two other strategies that are equally as amazing. And one of them is a mean reversion. And the mean reversion strategy, that is going to fill in the gaps of it really complements a momentum based system well, because during these periods it will be cleaning up. But we're not there, and that's not what we're talking about today. And also the number of trades, it reduced them to 44. And I'm still just on the bookshelf. Really, the indicator, the VWAP indicator that Flavius Frav was overlaying on the CTM bull runs, that looks like it could even provide a potential better filter. There's so much work to do. It's absolutely ridiculous, which is why each and every day we hear, we show up, we put on that brainwave music to remind us that this is all about work, and then we're here putting the work in. So wanted to take a look at what that looks like for buy side only. The buy side only template has been a beast. And again, no, not again. I'm just gonna leave it at that for the second. So buy side only, 8-hour time frame, and let's just check those dates to give everyone that awareness. And from March, the last 3 months, you're looking at a drawdown of minus a net profit of minus 3.6%. From 3 months earlier, from the beginning of the year, you're looking at 15%. So BTC 107 is outperforming there. Maybe not on the drawdown, but very close to it. And in 2023, and I think this is where the buy side really takes advantage. So maybe not, just so I could compare. So yeah, 90% with a 16% drawdown versus 124% with a 9% drawdown. Right? And just the final comparison over here, and in the bear market, so it's not going to do anything, right? So check this out. So now you're looking at 161, 9% versus Ed in the bear market with both sides. See the differences? So now you got that massive improvement. So that massive improvement, right? Because you participated in the bear market. And then just finally here from 2020, including the bull here for both of them, 3,500, 16% drawdown. You don't get there without being able to get through the hard times. So that bear market, you could see the difference it provides here in overall performance. They're very close. Look at the percent profitable. They're identical, right? All right. And Vakanet, there will always be another trade, you said, and that's there's always opportunity, and the market's always going to be there. It's more about getting yourself right. The hardest part is getting through that narrow gate and having an edge in the markets, having a trading plan, having a trend that works. Once you get in there, then the work begins, though. That's when the real work begins. That's why you see over and over and over and over and over me showing up and everyone else showing up and putting the work and time in, because that's what it takes. It could, and Simon, we're seeing the Nasdaq here knock in on that resistance, and I could make the case too that, well, GDP looks like it's coming in strong. If next week's CPI is benign, then maybe there's room for the markets to get excited. I mean, we don't know, but we want to prepare ourselves. And I don't think for many people, me saying, get ready, we might run sideways was enough preparation. And then I felt like, because we're spending so much time working hard, which is so important. Why? Because, like, well, this is our time. We're out of the market completely, you know, what for 3 weeks. And then I felt, oh, everyone's going to lose focus because we're not here every day banging in that focus. And we talked about in 2023, the class of 2023, how 2022 was easy. There was massive volatility to the upside and the downside. 2023 was not. It was very low volatility. If we had a mean reversion strategy humming in 2023, it would have been a lot different. We would have felt it would have been a lot easier. It takes time, you know. But it's not just because you went through this period doesn't make it easy. And I want to just bring up this timely reminder over here from Vericool. I mean, look at this amazing. I love this. My favorite market tracker over here, and he's showing over here how he's been logging every trade ever since CTM 2.0 was launched, and then the reversions of it. And today, this is on Ethereum. Did the same thing from Bitcoin, and you can see that he's up 171%. 25 months later, which is averaging 6.85% a month, which is literally insane and on par, not on par, the best of the best, right? And I remember not too long ago, right? And, you know, this was December, late December. Let me take a look at it with you. December, right over here. So for perspective, Ethereum had just been able to, and we talked about how difficult this low volatility regime was in, finally made some upside, and then gave all the profits back. And it went from making a new all-time high in November to then taking a drawdown. But that drawdown was the largest drawdown that Ethereum took since 2020, right? So you come over here and you could say that, like, since 2020, it took an 18% drawdown. You could see it over here. Prior to then, the largest drawdown was 13.5%. So could you imagine going through this grueling period of sideways price action, finally making new all-time high, and then running into the biggest drawdown? And it was like enormous frustration. It's broken. It doesn't, the moat's broken. It doesn't work. This shouldn't happen. And I remember that session very clearly, trying to help everyone and just talking about how, listen, this low volatility is going to lead to expansion. Consolidation leads to expansion. We're only one trade away from a new all-time high. It's exactly what happened. That next trade over here wound up being, I don't know, 50% gain, 48% gain, crushing it to new all-time highs, and then going from a very, like, difficult, frustrating point, right? Because, by the way, even though the notebook is extremely profitable, you know, Vericool had been adding to his account the whole time, adding to his account. So as you add to your account, one trade take you back in the red, unless you're staying stagnant. By the way, this is right above that post, or the response to that post. Sale guy, first of all, offering some perspective over here, and then the addition over here of that same one talking about, listen, you have to work on that inner strength. And then right after that, you could see over here in February, all of a sudden smashing to new all-time highs, So this is someone who was extremely dedicated here the whole time, understands very well not only the strategy, but what it takes to execute on it. And those normal emotions that come into play of frustration after months of going through running sideways, hitting a new all-time high to snap into a bigger drawdown, the biggest drawdown in 4 years. There's nothing easy about it. And that's why it takes the team to kind of do that, supporting everyone through it. So I get it. You just joined 3 months ago. You're like, what's going on? But I hope with the highest degree of clarity that this session today not only very well gives you the perspective you need, but also inspires you to have that inner strength and be able to, because we want to take everyone with us to the top. But and that support, that encouragement goes above and beyond. But you have to want it. You have to want it as well. So, Aldo, you tell me. I don't know. I felt like we delivered what we wanted to deliver today, what was important to deliver. So, John, Hey You has been working on, I'll say, entering late, and the data suggests, strangely enough, that it's actually a good thing to do at certain points in time. So again, that's just one of the million things out on the bookshelf. That's one of the million things out on the bookshelf, and so I think that's normal for everyone. This is, if you ever saw the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, um, Daddy, I want it now, right? My toughest battle is suppressing that I want it now. Anthony, I think it becomes a lot easier when you know what your toughest battle is and you just bring it to the forefront of awareness. And hearing that voice, I think, is a great gift for you to be able to recognize and then conquer what needs to be conquered over there. That Aldo, it could, so we got very lucky, and I said it in real time. I don't think right over here. I think that if we did not, sorry, right here, if we did not get the grayscale court victory, I think that we would have went lower, and this would have been much harder. We got a great, because this would have been a gift. We got a great gift, and I just want to show August 23rd. Look on Bitcoin, the difference. That's a substantial increase, right? And even though it is continues to put, we don't know what's next. If we go to 80K on Bitcoin, massive. If we go to 120K, would be great. But we don't know what period we're going to go through over the remainder of the year, 2023. I don't care if it's an election year or not. And don't, straight up, straight down, we trade momentum. Either one of those is perfect. But if there's a grueling sideways chop, that's not easy to do. And hopefully you don't need to go through that again, in so much as that hopefully the next low volatility doesn't return in the space until, another 3 years from now, 4 years from now. And hopefully then we got a mean reversion beast in the market and it doesn't even matter, but it made you tougher. It made you really tough to go through that. Right. And right, Aldo, like during that tough period, a lot of people think, like, following the momentum on one trade kicks up and you're like, it's broke. But it takes experience and it takes that daily time of real time forward testing to understand that it's not about one individual trade. It's not about one individual moment. It's not about one individual impulse. It's being about over time to be able to come out ahead and do it methodically. David, I can't. So glad you're here. The buy side boost was a great treasure of 2023. I'm so excited about like the future because where we are right now is insane. And then like our collective knowledge continues to grow and everything. Like it's a wonder. It's amazing. At the same time, that doesn't there's nothing easy about it. And to be able through a day-to-day basis, a week to week, quarter to quarter, to be able to work your way through it, that's what separates the elite from those who aspire. And we want everyone here to be able to do it. I'm glad this happened. Thank you. And I love the secret, the how in sync we were this morning with you pointing out tough times create tough men. Um, I think that Flavers Frav, right, aka Kevin, has been one of the most dedicated to really working on himself, and not only that, sharing that process with everyone around him. And you have to want it. You have to want it. There's nothing easy about it. And I'm not talking today about what we built, Ace, and what we're building. I'm talking about and then having that correct demeanor to be able to fight and execute through it all. All right, everyone, we'll leave it at that today. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Ace, it was so, but this was so important about because you heard me early in the week, and I was like, all right, everyone's got to focus, but not like very few people know what I'm talking about in that moment. And then you could see by the end of the week, you could just see some people like needing that really important grounding because hopefully the next trade is a banger, but likely not. Every trade we almost every single strategy we trade, like 6 out of 10 stop out. That's what we do. That's who we are. So have a beautiful day, everyone. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you all on the inside. I made very little progress on CTM bull runs. I loved Ace's addition over here. I was taking a look at NVIDIA and where we left it off. This is from 2015 today. 2400 with a 25% drawdown. This is just where I'm at. And the overall return is dropped down, but so is the drawdown. That's attractive to me. The average trade too is now 31% as opposed to an average trade of 9%. So you can see a lot of these trades being canceled out. That was 60%, 60 closed trades versus 26. So I like this a lot. I think Frav's VWAP probably filters out a lot of these areas over here. So it's just, again, just keep on just taking one step in front of the other. And then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, look how easy it was. There's nothing easy about it, but we keep going. I mean, we are weak. No days off. Be obsessed about what you do. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, this one should be titled and bookmarked so we can come back to it. And probably those that when they join us, this should be one of like probably the second video watched. All right, everyone, let's get to it. I mean, what a great leadership there. And that's why the psychology channel was even introduced. All right, everyone.